Welcome to the deep dive. If you need that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we are taking a really fascinating and honestly quite strange journey straight into the heart of the ancient Egyptian Old Kingdom. And we're doing it through one of its most, well, remarkable documents, the Westcar Papyrus.
That's right. Our source material today is excerpts from this Westcar Papyrus, sometimes called Berlin Papyrus 3033. It's this amazing collection of court stories. And these tales, they're presented as being told to King Cheops, Khufu, the guy who commissioned the Great Pyramid. They give us a glimpse into a side of royal life, magic and power that we don't often think about.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to pull out the key insights about the immense, almost frightening power wielded by these figures called chief lector priests. They were the royal advisors, yes, but also masters of magic, of prophecy.
Yeah.
These stories aren't just fairy tales. They feel like political statements wrapped in tales of wonder.
Mm-hmm. And to really set the stage, you have to look at how the papyrus itself kicks off, because it immediately shows the status of these, let's call them magical administrators. King Cheops orders this grand ritual, a huge offering to the deceased King Djoser, and a very similar offering to Djoser's famous chief lector priest Imhotep.
Yeah, and the scale here is just huge, isn't it? We're talking
Yeah.
1,000 loaves of bread, 100 jars of beer, an ox, 2 balls of incense. That's for the deified King Djoser. And then practically the same thing for his advisor, Imhotep.
It's quite a radical statement, really, for a non-royal person, a chief lector priest, to get that kind of lavish, almost divine offering. Well, it confirms their extraordinary position, their spiritual authority, their political weight within that old kingdom structure. It tells you right away, before any stories even start, these aren't just scribes. These men hold power that rivals, maybe even exceeds, the royal line itself.
That context is perfect. It really frames the 3 incredible stories that make up the core of the papyrus. Okay, let's jump into the first one. This illustrates magical justice under a king named Nebka.
Right, so this story focuses on Ubaner. He's a chief lector priest serving King Nebka, and Ubaner finds out his wife is having an affair, with a commoner, no less, and they're meeting secretly in this pavilion out in the royal garden.
Okay, so palace intrigue. But Ubaner's reaction isn't, yelling or confronting them directly. It's pure, calculated, magical revenge. He tells his caretaker to make a small crocodile out of wax.
That's wax.
Yeah. And when the commoner shows up next time, the caretaker just tosses this little wax figure into the water near him.
And here's where you see the specificity of Heka, ancient Egyptian magic. That tiny wax thing, it instantly transforms, becomes a real crocodile 7 cubits long.
Oh, 7 cubits. That's what, over 10 feet?
Easily. But it doesn't attack right away. That's the chilling part. It just waits in the water for 7 days until Ubaner gives the command.
7 days. Planning the perfect, horrifying moment.
Okay.
So then
the crocodile fetches the commoner, drags him under, consumes him. It's a really stark use of supernatural power to enforce, well, marital fidelity, I suppose.
chilling is the right word. But what's fascinating is how this interacts with the king's power.
Exactly. King Nebka is told everything that happened, the magic croc, the lover, all of it, and his response to the unfaithful wife. It's swift, brutal, simple. He orders her taken north of the residence and burnt.
Wow. That contrast is stark, isn't it? Ubaner uses complex, controlled magic on the lover, showing his kind of authority. But Nebka uses straightforward, absolute royal violence on the wife. It's like 2 parallel systems of justice, both totally absolute.
Perfectly put. 2 forms of judgment operating side by side. And the magic itself is completely under Ubaner's control. After the commoner is gone and the wife is punished, Ubaner just reaches down, picks up this massive, real crocodile, and the moment it's back in his hand, poof, it reverts. It's just a small wax crocodile again.
So it wasn't permanent. It was like weaponized energy he could turn on and off.
Precisely. Controlled, reversible. It shows he wasn't some wild sorcerer. He was a disciplined administrator of maybe divine law, using magic as a tool.
Okay, that ability to just undo it, clean up, it reinforces that idea of control. All right, let's shift gears now from that kind of terrifying judicial magic to something a bit different. Spectacular magic used for, well, royal entertainment. This takes us to King Snofru.
Right, and this story is actually told to Cheops by his own son, Prince Baufrey. It's about something that happened when his father, Snofru Cheops' dad, was just bored.
A very royal problem, needing a very royal solution, I imagine.
You could say that. So the chief lector priest at the time, Monk, he comes up with an idea, a boat trip on the palace lake. But this isn't just any boat trip. It's more like a floating display of extreme wealth. The rowers are beautiful women from the palace harem. The oars, ebony plated with gold. The handles, scuby wood plated with electrum.
Wow, that's not just luxury, that's weaponized luxury, almost over the top.
Completely excessive. But the trip hits a snag almost right away. One of the women, the one setting the rowing pace, gets her hair tangled. Braids, apparently. And in the process, her favorite piece of jewelry, a fish pendant made of brand new turquoise, falls into the water. Plop.
Oh dear. And she just stops rowing, flat out refuses to continue unless her pendant is found. So now the king's amusement, this whole elaborate setup, hinges on finding a tiny turquoise fish at the bottom of a lake.
Exactly, a crisis of state over jewelry. Judgment sees his moment, realizes the king's happiness depends on him now, so he steps up and does something. Well, cosmic. He speaks a spell, uses the word haka, magic itself, and then he folds the water.
Folds the water? What does that even mean?
He literally makes one side of the lake lift up and lay neatly on top of the other half, like folding a blanket.
You're kidding. That's rewriting physics.
It is. And the papyrus gives us these incredibly precise details, almost like engineering specs. It says the water was normally 12 cubits deep there in the middle, about 20 feet.
Yeah.
After Janjamank folded it, the remaining water mass was 24 cubits deep, so double the depth, but half the area exposed. The lake bed was just dry.
12 becoming 24. That precision again, it makes the magic feel less like, I don't know, random sorcery and more like a calculated manipulation of reality.
Exactly. It's treated almost like a science. So Janjamank just strolls onto the dry lake bed, spots the little turquoise pendant lying on a pottery shard.
On a shard. That's such a specific detail.
Isn't it? He picks it up, gives it back to the rower, speaks another spell, unfolds the water back to normal, and naturally gets heaps of rewards from the very relieved King Snowfru.
Folding a lake to find a lost necklace. Okay, that elevates the chief lector priest from being just a magical advisor to being like a master of cosmic engineering. Hard to imagine more power.
Which sets us up perfectly for the third and maybe most significant story. Because in this one, the lector priest's knowledge becomes a direct threat to the reigning king, Cheops himself.
Ah, okay. This story is introduced by another of Cheops' sons, Prince Hordadef, and he tells Cheops about this guy named Jedi. He's described as a commoner, incredibly old, 110 years old, living out in a place called Jedi Snowfru. But this commoner supposedly holds a secret knowledge that Cheops desperately wants.
Right. Jedi has this almost mythical reputation. People say he knows how to reattach a severed head.
Okay, what?
That he can make a lion follow him around like a tame puppy, leash just dragging on the ground. And crucially, he knows the secret number of chambers of the Sanctuary of Thoth. This hidden sacred number is what Cheops is after.
So Cheops naturally orders Jedi brought to the palace immediately. And he wants to test him first, right? Verify these powers before asking about Thoth. So he asks Jedi to demonstrate the head reattaching trick on a condemned prisoner.
But here's where the power dynamic really shifts. Jedi just refuses, flat out tells the king no. He says doing that kind of thing is not ordained, not permitted for the noble flock, meaning humans.
Whoa, a commoner refusing a direct order from the pharaoh because of magical ethics, essentially.
Exactly. It's a huge moment. A non-royal figure is telling the absolute ruler of Egypt that divine rules limit even the king's requests when it comes to sacred power. It shows there's a power higher than Pharaoh, accessible through these magicians.
A living god is basically checked by an old magician. But Jedi is willing to demonstrate on animals, isn't he?
He is. Maybe as a compromise or just to prove he can. First, he takes a goose that's had its head cut off. He reattaches it, speaks some words, and the goose just stands up and starts cackling.
No way.
Then he does the exact same thing with a bull. Reattaches the head, and the bull gets up and stands right behind him. It's undeniable proof of his power over life and death, even if he draws a line at humans.
The tension in the room must have been incredible. Okay, so Cheops has seen the proof. Now he asks about the big secret, the chambers of Thoth.
Jedi confirms the knowledge exists. He says it's written down, contained in a special flint casket, hidden in a room called the Inventory in the city of Heliopolis. But then he drops the bombshell. He tells Cheops he won't be the one to get the casket for him.
Why not?
Because, Jedi reveals, someone else is coming who is destined for it. And this is where he delivers the ultimate dynastic threat. He announces that the wife of a priest of Re, a woman named Rujadet, is pregnant. Not just pregnant, but pregnant with 3 children of the sun god Re himself. And these 3 children are destined to become kings and rule the entire land.
Wow. Okay. That's not just a prophecy. That's the origin story of the next dynasty. The 5th dynasty, right? Directly predicting the end of Cheops' own line.
Precisely. You can just imagine the shock, The fear, maybe, in Cheops. He immediately asks Jedi when will she give birth?
Yeah.
And Jedi gives him the exact date, the 15th day of the first month of Akhit, the season of growing.
A precision again. It makes it feel inevitable.
Absolutely. And what happens next in the story is maybe the most remarkable part of the whole papyrus. It describes the divine intervention at the birth itself, the goddesses Isis, Nephthys, Meskenet, the birth goddess, and Heket, the frog goddess of fertility, plus the god Hum, the creator god. They all disguise themselves as a troupe of traveling musicians, and Khnum is carrying their luggage, apparently. They show up at Redjedet's house offering to help with the birth.
So gods acting as midwives in disguise. Incredible. And the births.
They're magical. Each baby is born and immediately shows signs of divine kingship. The text says they are each 1 cubit long with strong bones. Their limbs are destined to be of gold, and their scalps are the color of real lapis lazuli. They literally look like miniature divine statues from birth.
Wow. Born marked for kingship.
Exactly. And to seal their destiny, the goddesses use their magic one more time. They create 3 miniature lordly crowns, and they hide them inside a chest, buried in a batch of barley in Redjedet's storeroom. The future dynasty is literally hidden away in the grain supply.
So this prophecy, delivered by an old Kamlar magician foretelling god kings, facilitated by goddesses in disguise, it completely undercuts Cheops's authority, his future.
Yeah.
But the final twist, how it all comes out, isn't magical at all, is it?
Not at all. It's pure human drama. Sometime later, Redjedet, the mother of these divine triplets, gets into an argument with her housemaid. She punishes her. And the maid, furious and wanting revenge, threatens to spill the beans. She says she'll tell everyone where that special barley and the hidden crowns are located. That threat, born of a petty argument, is what effectively makes the prophecy public within the household, sealing the fate of Cheops's line and ensuring the rise of the 5th dynasty.
That's extraordinary. This huge cosmic drama involving gods and destiny is ultimately triggered by a household squabble and a maid's grudge. It really brings it back down to earth, in a way.
Yeah.
Confirms that even grand divine plans can hinge on very mundane human actions.
Absolutely. So if we kind of step back and look at everything these stories from the Westcar Papyrus are telling us, what are the big takeaways?
Well, first, I think it's the undeniable, almost overwhelming authority of these chief lector priests, these magicians. You see it with Ubaner's terrifying justice, with Jejamank's spectacular reality-bending feats for leisure, and especially with Jedi, who uses his knowledge to directly challenge and really undermine the pharaoh.
Right. And second, linked to that, is the idea that magical knowledge, the secret wisdom, seems to hold ultimate primacy, maybe even over raw material power. Think about it. Cheops, the builder of the Great Pyramid, the biggest physical monument on Earth, is shown desperately seeking hidden knowledge, that number of Thoth's chambers, from a commoner. It really highlights the limits of his power. And the next dynasty isn't shown taking over through war, but through this predetermined, hidden, divine knowledge coming to light.
Yeah, that's a great point. And finally, I'd say it's the incredible detail and sense of control surrounding the magic itself. Whether it's the exact measurements, like the 12 cubits becoming 24 when the water folds, or the specific items in those offerings to Imhotep. Magic in these old kingdom tales isn't chaotic. It's presented as structured, precise, almost like a science that governs fate, justice, and even royal succession.
These stories weren't just campfire tales for the court. They were, in a sense, political theology. They frame magic and divine will as the real forces steering royal governance. They even provide a narrative justification for the end of the powerful 4th dynasty, Cheops's dynasty, and the rise of the 5th.
Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to maybe mull over after this. If you think about those earlier priests, Ubaner and Jejamank, they used their incredible magic pretty readily to serve their kings, Nebka and Snofru, right? For justice, for entertainment. So why couldn't King Cheops himself command the full knowledge from Jedi? Why did he only get a demonstration on animals and a flat refusal on the prisoner and ultimately denial about the Thoth secret? What does that specific moment, that refusal and limited compliance from Jedi, really tell us about the true, maybe delicate balance of power between the pharaoh, the supposed god king, and his essential magical advisors?
That tension right there between the throne and the magic scroll, you could say, that's perhaps the most fascinating secret the Westcar Papyrus whispers to us across the millennia.
An excellent point to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.